Hello, and welcome to Living Well in Montana. Living Well in Montana is a production of LIFTT, Living Independently for Today and Tomorrow. LIFTT is a center for independent living here in the state of Montana. We're one of four, and LIFTT offers services and programs for consumers living in the southeastern 18 counties of Montana. I would like to welcome, today we have a unique show. I would like to welcome Shannon, Payne, and Larry Ketchem. We are all, on this panel, we are all some degree of visually impaired. And today's topic will be about living with low vision and blindness. So I want to go ahead and welcome you guys to the show. Thank you so much for being here. My first question for you guys is I would just love to hear your stories of living with disability. Shannon, do you want to go first?
Sure. So at the age of 20, I was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa, part of a syndrome called Bardet-Biedl syndrome. And I was misdiagnosed for years and years with different eye conditions, but could never tell why I couldn't see things. Still could, play music, play sports, but at the age of 20, all of a sudden, I just lost a significant amount of vision. Sunlight progresses the eye disease, and living out in California with no protection made it worse. But luckily, I got in with vocational rehab at the time and in California, but I was still struggling in school even though I had the supports. So they sent me to a rehab center in Los Angeles where I learned how to do technology, Braille, activities of daily living, and orientation mobility, which was fun learning how to use the cane in downtown Los Angeles. But it gave me great skills for going out to New York for school and everything. But at the time I was taking the technology class. It's a 6-month program. I finished computers in 2. And the rehab teacher in the computer class said, "You need to get into this field." And I thought, okay, maybe at the time. But then I was also at the Braille Institute volunteer teaching, and that's where I found a love of teaching those who are visually impaired and blind. And it led to my going to school, and I have a bachelor's degree in human services through Montana State University, Billings. And then it led to me becoming a vision rehab therapist and getting my master's degree through Hunter College in New York. And I love being able to give back. And when I meet with clients who have lost vision or new to vision loss, and they see me walk in the door, they're like, "Wow, she's doing it. Why can't I do it?" It perks them up, and so it's been a interesting journey. I've lost vision through the time, but I wouldn't change anything about it.
That's fantastic. So I did forget to mention that. Thank you, Shannon, for bringing up your job title and what you do. Larry, would you like to share your story?
Sure, no problem. Actually, it's kind of funny. Shannon and I both have the same type of eye disease. I have RP too, but I'm about 30 years older than her issue, so I had a lot more bumps and bites than she did. I was diagnosed when I was about 13. They really didn't know what RP was back then. So they just said, "You have real bad eyesight. You're probably going to go blind by the time you're 16. So you need to figure out what you're going to do in life." And at that time, they asked if I wanted to go to the state school for the deaf and blind in Great Falls, and my parents said, "No, he's going to go through the regular school system here." And I did. I attended Billings Senior High, and I didn't let anything stop me. I wrestled. My senior year, I made the varsity wrestling team at my weight division, and I participated in the national blind athletics, and I got a couple national titles in that for weightlifting and wrestling. And I did the first Eagle Mount downhill skiing in Bozeman. Did that for several years. So I didn't let things stop me. I ended up going to college. When I was in college, I seen that I wanted to help people that have problems with their disabilities. I wanted to help them so they wouldn't give up in life, because I seen too many people that gave up with a disability, and I wanted to be able to help them because I seen how to break through the barriers of life with a visual disability, and I wanted to be able to take my knowledge and pass it on. That's where I ended up getting a job at LIFTT as an independent living specialist, and I worked there for 10 years. And then I retired for medical reasons. And then I came back about a year and a half ago, and I'm back there, and I love the job, and I'm more than willing to be able to pass on whatever I can to help people be as independently as possible.
That's fantastic. I love it. As I've talked about before on the show, I have a congenital eye disease called retinopathy of prematurity, which means I was born a preemie, and the retina part in the back of my eyes wasn't finished developing. And the disease has the potential for complete blindness. And I'm in stage 4 of the disease, but I've been holding in stage 4 for about 15 years. So my parents too, and I think it's a benefit, and it's an individual for everyone. My parents mainstreamed me too. I went to public school, and the only difference or the accommodation that I would have maybe in class was that they would give the rest of the class 100 math problems, and they would give me 50. And by the time they were done with their 100, I would be done with my 50. You know, so did you guys find that you had, how was school for you? I'm curious.
Well, for me, because I was in school back before the Americans with Disability Act was in place, so they were doing like the education laws were in place. I started out with using a large screen TV. Then I got large print books, and then they started doing typing with me, knowing that I would eventually need something other than writing. So they started with that, and then I ended up going to books on tape, which a downfall with that was that I would need to know what books they were using 3 to 6 months in advance so they could tape them. Because back then, not a lot of books were on tape. So it took anywhere from 3 months to sometimes a year to be able to get the books.
Wow.
And if they couldn't get it, then they would have to have one of the other students read the book to me. And then when I went to college, computers jumped in, and they would take and have a note taker in the class, and they would put notes on the computer for me and read my test. I would have to answer them. And then like with Tanya, they would give me, in classes where we had actual hands-on, they would give me reduced loads so I wouldn't burn out so bad. So that's kind of what I ran through for school.
I had that same thing, note takers, help test taking. Shannon, no, you had some specialized schooling. You were very fortunate in that sense. Not all of us get to do that. How was school for you?
Well, as far as high school goes, I was in special ed since I was 3rd grade.
Okay.
And because of the not knowing what was going on with the vision, I did develop a reading disability. But as I noticed the decrease in my vision. There were certain colors I couldn't see anymore. Like I couldn't see red and green if they wrote on the blackboard or on the whiteboards. I couldn't make out the chalk on the blackboard. I couldn't see the transparencies on the, and I'd tell my teachers that I couldn't see that stuff, and I'd tell them I need to sit in the front row, and sometimes that didn't work out because they wanted to sit alphabetical order, and being in the middle of the pack with a P, you didn't get that lucky with that. So, like I said, being diagnosed after being in college, that's when I found out about because I was in college 2 years before I went to my school, because I graduated in 99 and then went right into college in 2000 because my mom demanded I go to college, even though I didn't want to go. You and you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So, like I said, it was 2001 when I was diagnosed, so I didn't know. I went into deep depression and dropped out of college. And then it took the Braille Institute to get me to get back to stuff, but I didn't know about Zoom text for the computer. I was a computer person. I'm the generation that started on the Apple IIe computers in elementary school, and I loved the computer. I'm a computer geek. So once I got to college, I didn't know about a lot of the stuff, and I was struggling. So after I went to my rehab center and learned Braille and computers, and I got the ability to use a CCTV, I got extended time for tests. Disability Support Services was able to, I had to buy the book so we wouldn't break copyright laws, and they would scan my book and turn them into MP3 files for me. And I had tutors, and the funny thing is my statistics tutor, it was a small classroom, but he would make the skews really, really tiny. And I'd tell him it's not big enough. And he'd erase it and he'd make it just a little bit bigger. So it's not big enough. And so he'd make it even big, and so it was finally big enough to see, but the magnifier on calculators, because the statistic calculators weren't accessible, and just there were times in the classroom where I needed help in a computer class, and the teacher would grab my mouse, and I had it at 6 times what a normal person sees on the computer, and she's like, you do it. I don't know what just happened. So, but there were times teachers would try to enlarge my stuff. 2020 pens, which are pens that don't bleed through paper, are amazing. I went through 4 or 5 years of that in a notebook, paper writing really big. So college is really where I learned where to start with the technology, CCTV, reader machine. But I'm a tactile learner, so anytime I get my hands on something, I learn it fast. So when I got Braille, I was excited, but that didn't come that often.
So I think that's a great segue into my next question, actually. How has technology and adaptive equipment helped each of you? Larry, I'll start with you.
Well, I'd have to say that the explosion of the computer has been wonderful, even though it still has some downfalls. But when I started out in school, the computer we had, all it had was a large print version of it. So on the little 12-inch screen, I could put 2 words because it had to be so big so I could see it. To where they went to the bad computer voice that you hear on the 80 movies like War Games.
Yes.
To halfway decent voice. There's a company called Freedom Scientific that came in and really did a lot for computers for the blind. They made software to read the computer screens. Nowadays, with that, I can do almost anything a normal person can do on a computer if the web page is accessible. There's still a lot of companies that are fighting the Accessibility Act and not making their web pages accessible for screen readers, which that's the new major fight with the Americans with Disability Act, is to make web pages accessible for visually impaired and screen readers. So the computers have came a long way, done a lot of things. I mean, you can almost get anything to talk nowadays, from blood pressure machines, which I have, to scales, Peter meters, almost anything. They even have talking canes now. And
Really?
and some of the
Did
things
not know
they've
that.
done is just unbelievable. But even though we've came a long ways, there's still things that need to be done, as far as education for the community and accessibility. So, you know, I hope that people watch this and can get some good out of it. So.
Thank you, Larry. Shannon, how has technology helped you?
It's it's my wheelhouse, so I've loved where technology has come today. My big thing has been the phone and the tablet, and how well they've added speech. I think Apple started the wave, or the way of talking on phones, but Android has really come a long way and has given us options. Applications today on the phones are amazing. Just like Larry, I have a talking scale, I have a talking meat thermometer. Because I'm at a point where I'm in transition where I can use magnification, sometimes I can't. So phones, you can go like a 5 times magnification. Well, I see it at 10 times to 12 times what a normal person sees on a phone. And so I have to use speech. But the funny thing is I can do, my phone sometimes is more accessible, or I like the word usable over accessibility, because there's accessible but there's usable, and I feel like the phones have become more usable than computers, but I
like
still can use like the program Larry's talking about. It's called JAWS. Don't ask me what the acronym stands for. I forgot a long time ago. But they got a contract with Microsoft, so they made sure Microsoft Office is accessible other than Teams. They're still working on that. So they're making sure that things are accessible for users. And then tablets today, I mean, I have an Android tablet connected to a Braille display, and I can do everything on it. Search the web, write documents, write emails, listen to my Amazon Music, listen to Audibles, read Kindle books, read my fan fiction. So where technology has gone today is just, it's amazing. And I'm kind of scared where it's going with the artificial intelligence, but I'm excited to see what it does for not only the blind and low vision world, but because some of our technology can help dyslexia, other disabilities as well. And so I love where they're going with, it's called optical character recognition, OCR, where you can scan and have something read to you. And I love where that technology is going today.
That's, I too have taken part in, using some of that technology that both of you mentioned. My favorite thing in technology to talk about is, already, Shannon, it's going to be audio description. Mm-hmm. Audio description is wonderful for movies and TV shows, where now, as before, when we could never go to movies or we could never watch TV by ourselves and really get the full idea of what's going on. Now we have audio description, and I think on Apple it's downloadable. You can use your phone. Mm-hmm. Android's not quite caught up yet, but I love the freedom of being able to watch a TV show or go to a movie and having that description in my headphones so that I can really get a full sense of what's going on. It makes what you're doing so much more enjoyable.
Can I add on to that?
Yes.
On top of that, where Roku and the smart TVs have gone, the audible menus, audio guides,
Yes.
Even the streaming platforms have built it in now. Not all of them, but like Netflix paved the way for it. And I think Disney Plus is the next best one. Amazon, it's 50-50 depending on what you're watching. But even the Blu-rays and the DVDs having it now. And just to clarify what descriptive audio is, it's when an actor is not speaking, they are describing what's going on in the scene or reading subtitles. So that's what makes it so awesome for someone who's blind or low vision.
And can I throw in 2 cents?
Absolutely.
I think they need to push more of it. I know in the UK, they really push blind, and they don't push as much hearing as here in the United States. They push more of the hearing and not as much for the visual. And everything is captioned for the hearing impaired, which, don't get me wrong, that's great, but they need to push more of getting shows for that are descripted video, like TV. It'd be nice if you could watch the new show and have it descripted video.
To turn on the function just like you can captions. I get it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I really would love to see that happen, because right now I think the last time I seen they're up to maybe like 5% of TV channels have to have descriptive video, and I'd love to see that either much more or have that feature, like you said, that where you could flip it on and on, just like the caption for the hearing impaired.
That would be wonderful.
Well, Spectrum has a box, but nobody has asked for it.
Oh, well.
Where it has talking guides and the descriptive audio automatically turns on when a show has it.
Now we know.
Talk about that.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get to my next question is what advice would you give to someone who is new to vision loss? Shannon, go ahead.
So what I would say is, it's not the easiest road, but with all the tools that we're talking about and having a good support system, it's doable. It's like I said, it's not an easy road, and you know there's a little vanity involved with carrying the canes and wearing the hats and the glasses, and but it is doable. It's I went from someone who was in deep depression to finding the right support group, and now I travel, I've met actors, I live alone, I work, I have a master's degree, and I wouldn't change anything about my life. And this brought me out to speak, and I'd still be that shy little kid who moved around from town to town and didn't want to talk to people, to now I have to speak. It taught me to speak out, solicit, and be independent. So it's hard at first, but when you get the right tools and resources and the support you need, you can do it.
I love it. I love it. Larry?
And my thing is, yes, I have to kind of agree with Shannon that at first it's a rough, hard road, but you have to have a mindset that you're not going to let it get you down. And the number one thing, and this is my thing, and I know you got to do it, you have to be able to laugh and
Yes.
laugh about yourself.
Absolutely.
Because if you can't laugh about it, it's going to get to you mentally,
Yes.
and eventually it's going to eat you so bad that you just want to crawl up and pull the blanket over your head and give up. And you can't do that. You have to be able to laugh
You do.
about the bad things and the good things, and just keep moving forward. And when you come to that roadblock, you need to figure out with the technology or whatever to either get around it, or like I do, just lower your head and keep ramming until you break through it.
Right
Yep.
on. I love that.
And I have to say, my family, you have to laugh at yourself, like Larry said, because I apologized to a pole because I was swaying back and forth and hit it and thought it was a person in line. I've done some stupid things that, didn't have a bite on my fork, and my family's like, I love it. And, if I do something stupid or ram myself into a wall or something, you have to laugh it off and just keep going. So like I said, you can have fun with your life, and it's you just gotta laugh. And the greatest thing, I'll tell you the truth, is when I was in deep depression, all I watched was comedies and Jeff Foxworthy, and I learned to laugh even at the stupid things, and it helped me to even gain that more confidence to go, so what if I run into a wall, or run into a pole, or I do something stupid? I hit the back of my head and laugh it off and keep going. So
It's totally true. And my contribution would just be, that keep communicating with your loved ones, keep communicating with that support system, and reach out and look for resources. There are resources all around. There's resources like LIFTT, there's resources, there's all sorts of resources, vocational rehabilitation, blind and low vision services. There's all sorts of accommodations you don't even know are out there. So reach out and find those resources, and get out there and learn what's available to you. There's support groups around. There's all kinds of stuff. Do you guys agree?
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of things that you can do to, and like you said, it's not going to be easy. It's devastating at first, but you're definitely not alone in it. I love. Is your timer going off, Larry?
Actually, we're over.
Oh, look at us go! All right. Is there anything else anybody wants to contribute? I know we got to wrap it up here pretty quick. Have you guys seen negative, positive changes in society? Have you seen anything good? Any barriers you think we really need to hit? Hot topics?
Transportation.
Transportation's a good one.
Need to really work on transportation.
It's getting there with transportation, but yeah, it's still an issue. I think a big thing is the blind and low vision. I've always felt we're a minority in the disability world, and that people don't know, like, they see a white cane, they think you're totally blind, and it's not true. And that's always bothered me. Or like when I'm walking in the mall and they see the cane, they don't know whether to get out of the way or stop and watch and see what I'm going to do. Some people have no clue what a white cane is. So there's things out there that we need to educate, especially the white cane. What does it stand for, and why someone uses it?
Thank you. I want to thank you guys so much for being our guests today. We appreciate you having you. We appreciate your opinions, your thoughts. Thank you. I hope we can do this again. And please join us next time on Living Well in Montana.